Today's guest is going to help you stop dieting, heal your gut, and rewire the way you view health. Erin Kenney has a master's degree in nutrition science and specializes in gastrointestinal disorders and sports nutrition. Growing up a full time athlete, fueling her body was always incredibly important. She understands the need to view food as fuel, but also recognize the importance of the enjoyment that comes with it. She's the author of Rewire Your Gut and Rewire Your Sweet Tooth, which are cookbooks and guides designed to help you heal leaky gut and reach your goals. She has a passion for making healthy food taste delicious without sacrificing precious time. She firmly believes that food is medicine and will always reach for holistic remedies, as she has helped many clients heal with the power of food and herbal remedies. Welcome to Literally Nothing Matters, Erin.
Thank you for the introduction, Caitlin, and thank you both, Amanda and Caitlin, for having me. I'm honored and excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, we're really excited. We have so many questions, and we put up a little poll asking our audience what their questions were, and we got quite a few responses. So
Great. I
we're
love
just gonna
questions.
we're just gonna go with it. So let's get started by getting to know you a little bit beyond your bio. What brought you to this place? Kind of a little bit of your background story and how you got to this kind of like aura of healing and trying to help other people.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, from a very young age, I was struggling with digestive issues. My mom started to try with breastfeeding, and from the get-go, my stomach was just like, nope, we're not having it. So they, switched me on a soy formula, said that I was lactose intolerant, and kind of used that like title for me, that diagnosis, as kind of an explanation for all of the years to come of why I was suffering with chronic digestive issues. And, alongside that, I grew up in a pretty stressful environment at times with a father who struggled with mental illness. He was schizophrenic and bipolar. And, a lot of what I talk about with clients and, in general is this gut brain connection. So there was this clear mental health connection. There was this clear physical predisposition from the get-go, chronic ear infections. So then it's, monthly antibiotics, and you go through high school, and then you're having acne, and they're telling you here's some more antibiotics. And then, fast forward a little bit more to high school, still struggling with digestive issues, really getting frustrated about how I'm feeling all the time, mental health continuing to decline and still be a big struggle for me. And, doctors essentially just throwing medications at it. Oh, well, you have acid reflux. Let's give you a proton pump inhibitor. Your period's irregular. Let's just give you birth control. And so I became this product of, conventional medicine, which I think a lot of people end up at, and, throw in a little bit of disordered eating and orthorexia related to fear around food with my history of, just being afraid to eat things that made me sick. And, drinking a lot with, just high school, a lot of stuff going on there. And then got to college and was like, I don't really know what I want to do, but I know something needs to change for me. And so selfishly just went into this profession, and even going through school, recognized how many, areas were missing of the discussion of gut health and hormone balance and this more holistic route. Even a lot of the part of the curriculum was basically making fun of holistic remedies when it came to nutrition. And I was like, wow, like this is insane. Like, and so that lit me up. There's nothing that did for me than really just light a fire underneath me to heal myself, first of all, and just make it my mission to learn everything I possibly can about the human physiology so that I can help people not have to go through what I went through. And fast forward, here I am. Long story. I know you didn't ask for super long
Yeah.
answer, but it's all an important part of the story, and just to kind of highlight that there wasn't like one thing that kind of ruined my health, if you will, or contributed to poor health. It was a combination of a lot of different things, which is usually the case for most people.
hmm There's so many connections that I'm making even as you're talking, and I feel like you're so real and authentic. And I think that there's so much connection, like you said, between mental health and then your physical health. And a lot of it stems, from the way you were raised. I love that you started it with like, my mom tried to start breastfeeding. Like, that's a common thread that like goes undiagnosed and not talked about. So much of that is real. A lot of us go through high school and we're like over drinking, you know, playing with drugs or whatever substances, and it's like all these things are contributing factors. So thank you for that honesty. I feel like that's a
Yeah.
great
No
explanation.
such thing as TMI over here for me. Like that's
Good.
something you'll learn. Like you can ask me anything you want and I will answer it.
Appreciate it. All right. Okay, so let's get started with gut health because that's kind of like your cup of tea, as I can see from your Instagram and your social. So I have a bunch of questions, but I wanted to start with, what are common ways that we all are kind of hurting our gut? Like when you talk to clients, what are just like surface level things that you often see?
hmm Well, I think what people are probably expecting me to start with is our diet. Oh, let's talk about seed oils and this and that. And while diet is incredibly important when it comes to gut health, at least in my practice, the majority of the biggest killers for gut health that I see are, overuse of antibiotics and also even just, regular medications. I see people go through like killing protocols for bacteria that they have no idea are harming their gut. They're not doing it strategically. Stress is I probably should have started with stress because stress is the silent killer for everything. It will increase your chance of leaky gut. It will increase harmful bacteria. It will cause you to not have adequate stomach acid, malabsorption of nutrients. So those are two big ones. And then I would say actually underfueling, missing certain nutrients, deficiencies like vitamin D, iron, B12, not eating enough protein, which is an integral part of actually supporting the gut lining. We need to have protein in our diet in order to actually put that repair into process. So I would say underfueling, missing nutrients, stress, and just randomly supplementing, over supplementing, blindly, it actually tends to be a big issue in my practice.
Yeah, and I feel like I get myself in that because I am definitely, I want to be like all woo woo, all holistic, and I'll see different practitioners even, or I'll see something on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and it's like, oh, everyone should be doing this or using this herb, this supplement, and we definitely will get into that, but it's so common. But going into the stress, I'm interested about that because I want to know, is there a way to know if our digestive issues are caused by what we're putting in our bodies or by stress? Or is there like a determination between that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is testing you can do to assess stress levels in the body. There's things like cortisol, particularly cortisol patterns. Oftentimes people get a one-time blood test and they say, "Oh, my cortisol's high." Okay, well, first of all, cortisol should be high in the morning. It should be high in the morning, and then it should be low in the afternoon into the evening. So it's important to keep in mind, like, cortisol can give us part of the picture, but the type of cortisol testing that I use it shows us your daily pattern of cortisol. So that's one of them. If you have gut issues and you look at your cortisol and they're pretty high, you can rest assured that's part of your puzzle. Things like DHEAs can indicate some adrenal function, which could be related to stress and also related to our digestive system. So those tests can be part of that. And then a really free, simple tool that you can use to maybe make a connection of, oh, is stress a huge contributor to my digestive symptoms, is journaling. You could keep a journal for the course of a month or two. And if you find that this food upsets you here and it doesn't upset you the next week, and all of a sudden you had a conversation with your boss at work, or you got in a fight with your spouse, or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden your digestive symptoms get worse, you're starting to be able to make those connections about like, okay, it's not just the food here. If anything, it's actually not the food at all. Stress is clearly a correlation there. So sometimes we don't necessarily feel stressed all the time, but if you can map that out and look at patterns of mental health and life events and workload or whatever, then that might be a helpful indicator that's free and doesn't require you to go to a lab.
Yeah, I love that. And I think obviously there's so much value in getting lab work done and all the different tests that I know that you recommend and I've seen on your page. But I think that a lot of us, including me, get kind of like, well, crap, like this is going to cost me so much money. And insurance often doesn't cover all of these things. So I love that strategy. Like journal it out and don't do it like restrictively of what I'm eating. It's more of how I'm feeling from the food. So I love that strategy.
Yeah, it was one of the things in my healing journey that really made a difference for me. I went the opposite route. I jumped towards lab testing without actually really taking a step back and learning about myself and learning patterns. Before then, I showed up with a dietitian and said, "Here's what I've recognized. Here's the data that I've gathered." And then we could kind of work from there. So if I can avoid people from spending money, if they can do that work, and then we can sit down and have a conversation and say, okay, yeah, this would be a good test. Or yeah, I'm all about saving money for patients when it's possible.
Yeah. I feel like that gives you some, not like ammunition, because that feels like an aggressive term, but like you said, yeah, I have this data that I have collected because I feel like all too often we're like dismissed at the doctors. Like you said, like you get random diagnosis or like, oh, you have IBS. That's just that, you know?
Mhm.
So to be able to come in and be like, no, I have been paying attention and tracking this. This is what I think it is. Maybe like slightly less of a chance that someone is gonna totally blow you off.
Yeah. And it shows that there's this awareness, and that there's also this recognition that, you're putting this effort into understanding that it's not just one thing, that there could be many things factoring into it.
Yeah,
Totally.
totally.
So another question I have is should we be using a probiotic, prebiotic, fiber supplement, all of the different things? What are the differences from them and like where does that fit in for a typical person?
Yeah,
Hmm.
overwhelming.
Yes.
Like, can't I just drink a poppy prebiotic soda every night and that counts for all of it?
Eat a
Yeah, and
garlic
the, and the
clove and then have a
poppy's
poppy.
interesting. The poppy's interesting because I'm pretty sure, what is it? Just apple cider vinegar and a little bit of cane sugar in there. It's funny how companies can, and trust me, I like poppy. Like I'm gonna
Right.
drink one,
But
especially
it's not
like,
like the end all be all.
no, no,
Damn it.
it's a very expensive, gut
Yeah.
friendly air quote drink. I do love apple cider vinegar. Don't get me wrong, but so prebiotics, probiotics. So probiotics are the actual beneficial bacteria, and we can consume them from foods, mainly fermented foods naturally contain probiotics. These are live bacteria that are supposed to provide a health benefit to the host. So that's probiotics. You can get them from fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, kombucha, or you can get probiotics from a supplement. And supplements, basically the advantage there is you're allowing for a more targeted approach. Like, well, there's multiple types of probiotics. You don't know what types of strains you're getting from a kombucha or a sauerkraut. You know that from a supplement. You know that it's going to have the lactobacillus rhamnosus, which is beneficial for, lactose intolerance. So for general maintenance health, a lot of people can really just use fermented foods to support those beneficial bacteria, in addition to eating fiber, which also helps to feed and keep alive beneficial bacteria. So not everybody needs a supplement. Absolutely not. Usually they're used as temporary parts of protocols. Now, where there are people who, such as myself, where you grow up most of your life using antibiotics, your toxin exposure, just like overall, you're just really high risk. You've depleted your microbiome. Your body needs that extra support. You might do really well with a daily probiotic. And same goes for, my patients who have inflammatory bowel disease. This is a great maintenance choice for them. But for the average everyday individual who doesn't feel like any sort of digestive issues or any other imbalances, I think it would be wrong to say that all of those people need a probiotic. Might they benefit? Possibly, like the toxin exposure or drinking alcohol, like having a little support there, but they might be able to get away with just eating fermented foods. Prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. So these can be found in supplements, things like inulin, oligosaccharides, whereas you can also find them in food sources. Think of fiber. Prebiotics are found in fibrous rich foods, bananas, oats, artichokes, asparagus. So I typically will use prebiotics from foods to help support the microbiome for most of my patients. However, there are certain cases where, they can't tolerate a lot of those foods because they're sensitive to a group of foods called FODMAPs. And so we might supplement, but not everybody needs a prebiotic supplement, and not everybody needs a prebiotic with their probiotic supplement. And then fiber, as I mentioned, like prebiotics are in fiber food. So it's essentially the same thing, but there are isolated fiber supplements, things like psyllium husk, things like partially hydrolyzed guar gum, that can be used to support people who maybe can't quite get certain things through their diet, or who just need a little extra support. And, like I said, similar to a probiotic, if their stools are more loose or more solid, we might adjust the fiber supplement to help kind of target what their gut might need. But same as everything else, not everybody needs a fiber supplement.
So sciencey, but I did catch one word in there that I want to
Okay.
I want to dive into. You said guar gum. Is that how you
Guar
pronounce it?
gum, yeah.
Guar gum. Okay, so I have come to the realization that there's gums in everything. And I spend hours at the grocery store now because I'm trying to find a frickin' almond milk that doesn't have a gum in it.
Yeah, like I don't want to
So
make my own.
what? Yeah,
I
I
know it's
don't
not
have
that
time
hard.
for
I don't
that.
want to do it.
I don't
So
blame you.
yeah,
There's good
we're
brands out
seeing
there
it.
without them. So
Okay. So what are they? And can we avoid them? Like what products do you recommend? Like just a few to name something.
sure. So, we're talking xanthan gum, guar gum, Arabic gum, acacia gum. You're going to find these in pretty much any sort of packaged product. They don't naturally occur in a banana. They don't naturally occur in a piece of chicken. So these are foods that are specifically added to a product to act as a thickener or a stabilizer in a certain food product, especially going to be common in products that are gluten-free, because gluten is thickening and stabilizing. Products that are keto or low carb, carbs are thickening and also give that same mouthfeel. They act as prebiotics. The majority of them act as prebiotics, meaning they feed beneficial bacteria. So you might think like, oh, well, okay, great. That's awesome. Like that should be a good thing. However, there are some people that are very sensitive to gums. And so, if you find, and especially if you're eating a lot of processed foods, you're going to also be eating a lot of gums. And that's a lot of prebiotics in your daily routine. There's certain prebiotics, certain gums that are like derived from sources like wheat, corn, soy. Therefore, if somebody has a sensitivity to those foods, that eating these products, they might have no idea that could be upsetting their symptoms. So, unfortunately now, like Amanda alluded to, is the fact that, well, it's in our almond milk, and like almond milk, yeah, it's processed, but it's supposed to be like a healthy choice for those of us who don't tolerate dairy. So now they're putting it in like everything, which is irritating. Pun intended, can be irritating to the gut too. You have to think of like our total quantity, our total load. So oftentimes people will say to me like, do you have any gums in your diet? Like, yes, I have some gums in my diet because there are certain things that I buy that are packaged that I just like, and I'm fine with that now. But do I try to limit them as much as possible? Yes. And I've identified specific ones like guar gum for me. Do not feel great when I consume guar gum, but doing like acacia fiber, like that actually helps my digestion. So understanding how each of the gums work might help you. I did a post on this, like a slide post to identify like each of the types of gums. So you can kind of look them up and see what kind of each of them does and say, okay, I might want to try to identify which ones are bigger triggers for me. And if we try to limit our ultra processed foods, we're going to ultimately limit the amount of gums that we're consuming.
So it might be okay if my almond milk has some in it and
Yeah.
I just use it for a little bit of creamer in my coffee. If
Yes.
it's not irritating me and I'm not having a lot of other gums in my diet.
Exactly. And there's
Woo!
brands, like if you're really looking to get away from them, Elmhurst, Three Trees. I just know those are the two off the top of my head that are you can buy them online, or you can buy them. Sometimes Whole Foods carries them. There are almond milks that don't have them in them, and other plant-based milks as well.
Okay.
Perfect.
I do love your approach to that, where it's like, okay, we do not need to make this thing like the most evil thing in the world. If it's really bothering you, leave it alone. But
Yes.
also, like, if some of it enters your diet, you're probably gonna be okay. But like,
Well, it's
limit
like,
it where we can.
yeah, it's like toxin exposure, right? Like you go outside and you breathe, you're going to
Yeah.
get some toxins. Like you're living in this world. You're going to be exposed to toxins. So I'm not comparing toxins to gums, like that's a little dramatic, but in general, like, you know, if you're having exposure to certain things, we look at our total bucket, our load, and see like, okay, how full is that bucket? And maybe we can reduce it versus stressing over every little thing, which, as we just talked about, that gut brain connection is very real. Like, let's not stress ourselves into horrible gut health.
Yeah, I feel like maybe our generation especially might have a hard time with that because we're so used to growing up with that like good food, bad food narrative. So either it's like 100% in or 100% out, which is, you know, and maybe an easier way of thinking about it at times rather than having to like go through it all. But I like not demonizing everything because who has the freaking time?
I am a recovering all or nothing type of
Oh,
person.
totally same.
So, and I say recovering, like always a work in progress, but like, yeah, that's how I operate. And there's really no, like, you know, it's kind of in my blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I want to ask you about poop. Is it bad?
Perfect. I love this topic.
Let's talk about it.
Is it bad to be distracted when you're going poop? Like, should my husband be going in with 4 magazines and his Facebook videos? I'm just gonna throw him under the bus while we're at it.
He should be
Like
going in
ridiculous.
with 1 magazine,
Okay.
because it shouldn't take him 4 magazines worth to go to the
Well, I
bathroom.
don't know if that's what he's really doing in there. He just likes to take a break, and that's his excuse.
That's fair. Sometimes I do catch my husband in there and I'm like, you're just getting a break because you're
Right,
sitting
you're just
down."
chilling.
They're like, I'm on Instagram, may as well keep going. He's already flushed the toilet sometimes.
Yeah.
So but so generally speaking, like it's not a problem being distracted. Like I'm someone who loves like looking at social media when I'm going to the bathroom. It's just like it's a habit that I've formed. Like whether it's someone would think that that's healthy or not, like I'm in and out very quickly, which most of us should be. You know, you shouldn't be sitting on the toilet for a very long time. The biggest concern with that is that if you're spending excessive time on the toilet, it can actually contribute to hemorrhoids and other issues. The position that you're in when you're using the bathroom, you know, a lot of us have this tendency to like what we call bearing down. And they'll talk a lot about this with like childbirth, is you're actually supposed to be like relaxing the muscles of your pelvic floor so that things can move through. And most of us are used to like pushing. And that can also contribute to weak pelvic floor, hemorrhoids, things like that. So the actual like, you know, mechanism of how we're evacuating is important, but being distracted, like reading a book or whatever, no, that can actually really help people, especially if you struggle with like a shy bladder or anxious, you know, bowels or something like that.
Okay. I'm really happy you normalize that because I think everyone actually is on their phone when they're pooping, but no one actually
Duh.
admits to.
Like, if you're not, what are you
Obviously.
doing? Like, are you just thinking?
Right.
Looking at the wall.
You're allowing a
Yeah.
thought to cross through your mind? That's insane.
Well, I will say there's some bars that, you know, people write all over them. And in that case, I'll put my phone down. Like, I'll
Oh
read,
yeah, I have other
see,
content.
like, what Gigi was doing in 2020. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's always interesting to me. But yeah, I like that.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I have a question about healthy poop since we're on the subject. So, like, how long should we be sitting on the toilet? How often should we be pooping? What should these poops be looking like or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you know that you need to like plan your whole schedule around being able to have enough time to sit on the toilet, that's a red flag, right? You should be able to go in, you get the urge to go to the bathroom, you go in, you essentially go, and then you should be done. It shouldn't be like urgent, oh my gosh, running to a bathroom, I have to go right now. That's more of a diarrhea type or an urgency. But it shouldn't be very long, like a few minutes or so. If you're someone with like an anxious bowel, you might need to spend a little bit more time to just kind of get yourself to relax a little bit. But generally speaking, you should get the sensation and then you should go. In terms of like, what should it look like? What shouldn't it be like? Your bowel movement should be dark brown in color. It shouldn't be like light yellow or light green, unless you've had like a lot of green vegetables. It shouldn't be very dark, more like tarry type of stools. That can be indicative of an upper GI bleed. It could also be you taking an iron supplement. But generally speaking, dark brown. It shouldn't be like little rabbit turds. It also shouldn't be watery, sticking to the toilet bowl. It should sink. It shouldn't float. And this always freaks people out, but it should be about the size of your forearm. People look down and they're like, nah, there's no way. But I mean, do I have them every day? No, but I have had them. And when I do, I know things are going really well.
You're
So
feeling great.
Things are feeling
Great day.
right.
Started my day with a forearm poop.
well, honestly, seriously, I've got a group of people in my life at this point who know it's acceptable to celebrate bowel movements with. And so that's like my aunt, my mom, my husband, and someone will send a message and we'll celebrate with each other, because seriously, like, such a taboo around bowel movements, but like we're basically celebrating that, like, we've been doing all these great things with our health. And like everybody knows that having a good bowel movement feels good. Like nobody likes constipated or backed up.
That's
No.
so true.
One other thing I
New
will
goals.
say too.
2024, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things that should not happen when you are evacuating. You shouldn't be very difficult. You shouldn't have to put a lot of effort into having that bowel movement straining. You should not be straining. Number two is that it shouldn't be accompanied by a lot of pain or gas or discomfort. And then also your stool should not have like mucus around it. That's usually a sign of inflammation or, a few other things. But those are things that you shouldn't be running to the bathroom. It shouldn't be diarrhea. Look up a Bristol stool chart. You should be right around the 3 to 4 range for a healthy bowel movement.
Amanda's writing notes for herself. She's like,
yeah, right. I'm like,
stool chart.
No, I'm like, that should definitely be our episode title. Forearm poops and
here we go.
Bowel celebrations.
Love this. We need this episode so bad. Okay, Amanda loves talking about poop. Amanda, are you done with your poop conversation?
I'm done. That's all. I was asking it for the people, okay?
Don't disappoint me, Amanda. Don't disappoint me.
You're gonna get DMs later on tonight.
Right. I'll be sharing all of my bowel wins exclusively with you.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so I want to move on to hormone health, and I think that this is such a huge conversation, and this is also one of the topics that you are so knowledgeable on. So I want to talk about like what are some healthy beverages or like adrenal cocktails that we kind of include. A lot of us are in like dry January, things like that. And I feel like it's a great time for us to just kind of like get started with some of these. You said like apple cider vinegar is a great like product that you use for yourself. What are some simple ones that we can kind of get into our own lifestyle?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of like gut friendly beverages, these will obviously vary per person. Like my favorite thing to do is take like a Spindrift and put just like a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. It's basically like a least expensive poppy drink.
Super easy.
And minus the sugar too. But apple cider vinegar, it's really helpful for stomach acid. It's got microbial, antiviral properties as well. So especially around like this month where everyone's getting sick, I've sworn by it for like seasonal allergies, all that stuff. There's not a ton of research on apple cider vinegar, but personally, my gut loves it. It really does. So you could make your own little mocktail at home. Adrenal cocktails can be really helpful. A lot of us deal with a lot of stress this time of year, burnout, especially after the holidays. And when we're stressed, as we know, that impacts our gut health. So some ingredients, what adrenal cocktails are addressing is specific minerals, magnesium, sodium, potassium. And so a very simple adrenal cocktail, for example, could be orange juice, it could be cream of tartar with a little bit of sea salt. Some variation of that, you could add some collagen for protein to help with your blood sugar. You could add some coconut milk or cream to help with fat to slow down the absorption of that as well. But you basically get your base. You get something with potassium, you get something with sodium, and something with some magnesium. I'll even add like a little bit of magnesium powder, especially if you're doing it like at nighttime. That'll help with sleep, anxiety, regularity. Love a good adrenal cocktail. Those are great.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned magnesium because that was another question that I had from someone was that we're seeing magnesium in bone broth even like starting to kind of get a little trendy around here.
Magnesium
So
is so trendy. I cannot open up
so
TikTok
trendy.
without someone being like, "This is my sleepy girl mocktail," which I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to try it, but also like I am overwhelmed with options of where to
Yeah.
source said
And it
magnesium.
also like
Sorry. Carry on.
affects your bowel movements too, right? It can act as a laxative. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, so magnesium is essential for several hundred different enzyme reactions in our body, which is why, like, it's trendy, but it's always been essential. It's
Mm,
kind of like water. It's trendy, but we always have needed it to survive.
right.
Um, and there's many different forms of magnesium, which will kind of depend on what your needs are. So if you're constipated, a citrate oxide is going to be a better choice for someone that's struggling with that. If you're looking for benefits of sleep, anxiety, stress, you might do the glycinate form to just avoid some of those maybe unpleasant laxative effects. For cognitive function, we're looking at magnesium forms like what forms for brain health? Oh, threonate is a great one for brain health. Ororate is great for heart health. We have malate, which is great for energy. But generally speaking, the most common ones that I'm using in my practice are oxide, citrate, glycinate, or a blend of a few different types of magnesium.
Awesome. So it seems like it is okay to be taking.
It is, there's always a point where people overdo things. So you can test your red blood cell magnesium levels in a blood test, or you could do a hair mineral analysis test to see, what's going on, because we can also get magnesium from food sources, leafy greens, dark chocolate, pumpkin seeds. So to say that supplements are like the end all be all, again, lots of foods that contain magnesium. Um, the bone broth side of things, we don't have a lot of research on bone broth and gut health. We just know that it's a great source of protein. It's typically easy to digest for a lot of people. And yes, it does in fact contain some nutrients like certain amino acids, which are basically just the building blocks of protein, as well as some collagen, especially if you're making homemade, that are essential and helpful for the gut lining. It's also very mineral rich. And so, again, a lot of people struggle with stress and mineral depletion just for many different reasons, but it's gaining attention because it's kind of addressing all those bases.
Mm. I know. Sorry, that was
So
a loaded question with
interesting.
magnesium and bone broth. They're not the same whatsoever.
No, that's okay.
That was my question.
Like, tell us
Um,
everything. But
you did. No, go ahead, Amanda.
sorry, just one more thing on the magnesium. Because it's so popular, I feel like now everyone is like pushing different supplement brands on the TikTok shop because the influencers are getting their commission, and same with like Amazon and stuff. Are there like certain red flags to look for or certain brands that you would suggest if you did want to
Yeah.
opt for a supplement?
Yeah, and it's important to remember, like, a lot of these like actual like minerals like are like vitamin D or magnesium. Like, I own a supplement brand, so I see how much these things cost wholesale,
Mm.
and these people are ripping you off so much. So
Oh, bitches.
really, look at the cost and look at the quality. Certificate of analysis is a really great thing to ask a company for. It's abbreviated COA, and that really, ensures that a company has done their research. They're getting lab testing for things like heavy metals, contaminants, or also that there's even any magnesium in the product that you're taking.
Ugh.
I really like brands like Thorn Labs are really that's a good trusted brand that I've used for a long time. Seeking Health is another brand that I like for supplements. Pure Encapsulations, I think they might have just been bought out by a larger company. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that one. But you just really want to look for very minimal ingredients. You don't need to be adding a lot of things to these supplements like artificial sweeteners or sugar alcohols. Something might say that it's touted for gut health, and the majority of it is like a laxative that you're taking. So
Mm.
simple ingredients, lab testing, and just a brand that has a good reputation overall.
So interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely going down a little bit of a journey here, and maybe I'll circle back. But two things that are coming to mind from this conversation. You said something about water at some point, and now I'm on the thought of the element products. I feel like those are
Yes.
one of the things that everyone is really loving, myself included. I hope that they're good. I'm pregnant and I feel like
I'm
I'm
drinking it
always
right now.
thirsty, and I don't even know if it's something I should be drinking, so don't tell my doctor. I haven't asked her. But
Oh, that's so relatable.
so yeah, two things are like the element things one of the good things to be doing, and then just in terms of like water in general, how should we be filtering it? What
Yeah.
does that look like?
Yeah, so the LMNT brand, I don't have any outward issue with the LMNT brand. The only thing I've seen, and this is anecdotal, and it's also the case for myself, like if I exceed like one packet per day, which I mean is a lot. It's, one packet is pretty salty. I usually
Yeah.
throw it in, mix it throughout the day. But I will notice like acne. Like it does seem to exacerbate my acne, which tends to be hormonal. So that was like the one thing that I figured I'd mention. And then I saw another friend who's an influencer. She like posted, but she's always dealt with acne her whole life. But I drink them. I mean, I drink them every day, and I'm not sponsored. They don't pay me. I wish they sent me free stuff. They're expensive. But I mean, in terms of the electrolyte, the amount, people are concerned maybe about the high sodium. That's individualized for sure. I thrive with the LMNT. I feel really good. My workouts are really good with it, and yeah, through the beginning of my pregnancy, I did consume that in moderation. So sweetened with stevia. I've looked at research on stevia and fertility, and there's nothing significant. There's some like old school thought of, well, this tribe used to use it for preventing pregnancy or whatnot. And it's like, all right, well, I'm pregnant already, so that's not a problem. And I was using it when I got pregnant. So not a ton of research long term on those types of things, but that's to be expected in a vulnerable population. So yeah, I like it. Again, it's one of those things I try to limit even stevia in my diet, but it's not completely void of it. Filtering water. So reverse osmosis is usually going to be one of the most effective ways to get like all the things out that we want in terms of PFAs and heavy metals, chlorine, fluoride. The downside to a reverse osmosis is that you're stripping away a lot of those trace minerals, essential compounds that we actually do need from our drinking water. My approach is that, I have a reverse osmosis filter under the sink, and we have the component of it that remineralizes the water after it filters it. So just to be aware for those who use the reverse osmosis systems, you're missing essential things that are needed for optimal health. So just make sure that you're being aware of that. Things like Brita filters, which are going to be a more affordable option. Someone who's not living in a house and doesn't want to install a major system. Those do some filtration, actually a decent amount compared to what I would have expected them to do, but that can be a good option if you're just on a budget and you're looking for something really simple to at least reduce your exposure.
Okay, excellent. That seems. I always go down rabbit holes with water, so I'm happy you helped me with that.
I just went on LinkedIn one day and I'm like, water researcher. Like I just found like weird people in the space of water, and I've learned so much about water quality and how messed up it is that all over the world. I mean, the Flint, Michigan
Oh my
scenario,
gosh, crazy.
that was not that long ago.
No.
Like I worked with a patient several years ago. She was pregnant and she got a notice at her front door one day that said, "Oh, the water's not safe to drink. Stop drinking it." And I'm like, how are we, like, we're a very privileged, fortunate country. Why is our water not like clean and toxic free?
Right.
Sorry, that's wild to me. So yeah, I rabbit hole too, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially also for people that don't have the funds, especially in this economy, to be spending a bunch of money on filters and testing and
Uh,
all of that. Like, you should be able to drink your tap water and not worry that it's going to affect your pregnancy.
Basic right. Like we all
Yeah.
know that if we went to a restaurant and asked for a glass of tap water, that would be free. Like that should be not something we have to worry about when it comes to our health.
100%.
Yeah. So I want to circle a little bit back to fertility. So I never said congratulations on your pregnancy, but congratulations on your
Mm,
pregnancy.
thank you.
Congrats.
I didn't know you were pregnant too.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations to you.
the lifestyle now.
So what, how far along are you, Caitlin?
34 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
I know, plugging right along. I can't believe it. Unless I
Going
look in the mirror and I'm
crazy.
like, holy moly, girl, you are
That's
pregnant.
coming out. That's coming out.
Yeah, so that's so exciting. So I feel like we could have and we should have an entire conversation on fertility and pregnancy and postpartum. There's so much health behind all of it.
Mhm.
But I'm just going to tiptoe on it a little bit. So let's start with fertility. A lot of our friends are either on a journey to becoming pregnant. A lot of them are getting off synthetic birth control or taking out their IUDs to get pregnant. And I'm having this conversation with so many people of like what that looks like and how surprised they are at how their emotions are up and down and their periods aren't back yet and they have to wait a little bit, but they could be getting pregnant. And it's like this confusing time in their lives. So I guess my question is, do you have any recommendations for this process and what to expect?
Yeah. And I feel so fortunate because like I went through the like coming off of birth control so many years ago, but I remember like it's taken me years to learn as much as I do about female hormone health. Like I didn't know what ovulation was. I didn't I thought that when I was on birth control that was like a real period. I, no idea. Like absolutely no idea. They should teach these things in school.
Yeah.
But so coming off of any sort of contraceptive, whether it's an IUD or an oral contraceptive, specifically the hormonal ones, they can deplete certain nutrients, namely magnesium, certain B vitamins. So I'm assuming that those people, if they're doing it to get pregnant, they might already be taking a prenatal. But if you're not, start taking a prenatal. It's going to help just replete some of those nutrients that may have been lost during the process of long-term use of oral contraceptives, but also that are essential for optimizing fertility as a whole. Diet is huge. Diet is a huge part of fertility, and things as simple as like eating within the first hour of waking up. And then every 3 to 4 hours after that, going long stretches of time without eating, what tells your body that you're safe to bring in a human if you're going through periods of, we'll call it famine. It's not that
It's so real.
extreme. Yes, but like when you think about anything fertility related, you have to think, would my body feel safe bringing a human in with limited resources?
Mm,
Food. You need to eat within the first hour of the day. That helps with your stress hormones. It helps tell your body that you're properly fueled. It helps to balance your blood sugar. Coffee's not breakfast. That's a big thing. We need to remember that.
Retweet.
Um, so eating regular meals throughout the day, being very consistent with that, exercising, but not over exercising, over exercise again, it's a form of stress. It tells your body we're needing outside resources for something else. And if you're under fueling on top of that, your body's perceiving that as a state of stress. It's not safe to bring a child into this world. Make sure you're getting enough protein at every meal and every snack. Make sure you're taking an omega-3 supplement if you're not eating high-fat fish 2 to 3 days per week. Fats in particular, fertility, love fats, right? So think avocado, olive oil, especially as women, I think there's a lot of fear around foods and weight gain. And gosh, if you are afraid to gain weight during pregnancy, just wait till you're 34 weeks and
Yeah.
um, no, but I don't mean to be insensitive about that, because I also, I've struggled with body image in the past, and I understand, like, right before my wedding, I knew we were going to try to get pregnant, and I had gained some weight, and I'm like, I'm buying another dress to not have to, I'm not losing weight. Like, our bodies have to be at a certain place where they feel safe to be fertile. And so being underweight or over exercising or under fueling, you're going to have a really hard time getting pregnant, because you're going to have a really hard time ovulating. So eating throughout the day, limit caffeine, limit alcohol, and just make sure you're getting those essential nutrients.
Yeah. Wow. It's such a good point. And I feel like it's so simple, but we get so overwhelmed by it. And it's like a
Mhm.
survival thing. Your body's going to grow an entire other human. So you need to be healthy first for your body to be able to support that.
Yeah, get enough sleep, drink your water, like, try to reduce your stress as much as you can. Stress was not low in my life when I got pregnant. Like, my grandfather had just passed away. We had the wedding season. It was like everything else, but I was, really still trying to put all the efforts in to take care of myself. And that's not an easy thing to do, but I've also learned the consequences of not doing that. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so say we get pregnant and or you have the baby. With my daughter, I found this out. I had to have a C-section with her, and the process of my body becoming like whole again was so overwhelming, and something I didn't acknowledge really until I was in it. And I mean that in a sense of like eating wise. Like after I had my C-section and even while I was pregnant, like you're putting foods in your body and your body's totally different and it has to figure out like your digestive system again.
mhm.
So what are some foods that we should be fueling ourselves with? How can we support our digestion during like a time where it's literally moving in your body?
Yeah. So easy to digest food. So think like very cooked foods, warm foods, easier to digest. So think like soups and stews and chilies and whatnot. Those are especially great for postpartum when you're being depleted of so many nutrients, namely iron and magnesium. So making sure that you're doing warm, easy to digest foods.
So
Um,
not the hospital foods that they send you, like a steak and like a
I'm
bagel
already
the
like,
next
that's
morning, and you're
actually,
like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, something I've recently thought about. I'm like, I'm gonna show up with like a massive cooler with me. That's
have
what I'm
to.
gonna
You
do.
should.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just, trying to get it, things like yogurt can be really helpful. Kefir, those fermented or probiotic rich foods that can just help to support the normal flora in your gut microbiome. Those can be really helpful. And then, just specific, eating practices, the way that you eat. If you're eating really fast, or if you're eating super large portions, your gut might not be accustomed to that, and doing like smaller, more nutrient dense meals more frequently might make it easier for you through that adjustment.
Yeah, just something I feel like we don't think about during that phase of life, and it's like a really big thing. Your first poop after having a baby is like you should get a gold medal. People make it like it's very intense.
I
So
can only
support it as
imagine.
much as
Sounds
you can.
scary.
That sounds horrifying.
Yeah, no worries. Don't worry, it's gonna be great. No.
Well, you're gonna push a baby out first, so I
Yeah.
suppose, like, you're already gonna be traumatized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. So I know we're running out of time, so I want to ask you one more question and then dive into a rapid fire. So I saw a post on Instagram that you said explaining how you know when you're at your ideal weight. And I think weight is such a big topic, especially for women. And it's
Mhm.
something that I've kind of been able to kind of take off the table, especially while I'm pregnant, because it really stresses me out. So what did you say to your feed, and like what can people be looking at instead of weight to know if they are healthy and at their
Yeah.
ideal body, I don't know, weight.
Mhm. Yeah. And this really highlights the fact that a number on the scale does not tell us how healthy we are. So some signs that you're at a healthy weight, one is you're not thinking about food all the time. That's like a primitive response to restriction, is that you're like hardwired to think of food all the time because your body wants it. Number two, you have great energy levels throughout the day. You know, I don't drink caffeine anymore, and people think I'm absolutely crazy. I'm like, no, but I have 2 to 3 snacks a day, and like that definitely, if I didn't have those, I'd be really damn tired. So you have really good energy throughout the day. That's really important. Your mood is stable. You know, everybody here probably knows what it's like to be hangry, low blood sugar. You're not eating enough. You're irritable. You're tired all the time. That's a sign that you're not fueling properly. And then the other one is that you're having regular bowel movements. If you're not eating enough, there's not going to be much coming out. So those were some of the big takeaways that I gave in that post of, you know, what are some signs that you're healthy? And, you know, it's amazing that we put this weight on the pedestal when we could have what we consider an ideal weight, yet we could be irritable, moody, tired all the time, you know, lethargic, and yet we're healthy. Like, no, it's, I mean, and I'm not calling people out because I'm guilty. Like, I'm a subject of diet culture too. Like,
Yeah.
we've all been
Very
there.
deep rooted.
Yes, very deep rooted. So I think, you know, focusing on those other external factors, and when you have energy, when you aren't thinking about food all the time, like your life opens up so much that you might not love your body like so much that you celebrate it every day, but you sure as heck are going to be in a better mood and maybe not as, you know, hyper focused and, you know, irritated by the fact that the weight's not the number that you want.
Yeah, it'll give you the chance to love your life a little bit more, which
Yes,
is
yes,
huge.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sad because half of my questions I could get to, so
Gotta
might be
Well,
in
we'll
your
have to
have
do
you
part
back
two.
on.
Part
Yes.
two.
All right, so we're gonna end with rapid fire if you feel like playing. So
Let's
I'm just
go.
gonna ask you a couple questions, and if you're like Mandy, you can go into paragraphs about them, and I won't judge.
It was one time. Okay.
But yeah, all right. So, what is one thing that you eat every day?
Bone broth.
Do you make your own or do you buy it?
I do a protein powder that is just only ingredient is bone broth. It's a Paleo Valley brand. I'm not sponsored, but it's just it works for me. I love it, and I start my day off with it instead of it like any sort of caffeine.
Wow.
Love
Okay.
that.
Well, I think maybe you just answered the next question. What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I pet my dog. That's probably the first thing.
Oh,
That's this girl, she smiles so big, like
yeah,
ear
you
to
just got so
ear.
happy.
Every morning. Like I don't know how we got so lucky. She's the, you know, how can you not have a good day when you wake up to a dog that's just so thrilled that you just opened the door? It's the best.
Oh, so
Literally, like
sweet.
this thing that literally just follows me
Yes.
everywhere I go.
So cute.
I have
I
two
was doing
dogs,
the
and this
same
one is
thing.
like, I'm in
So
the
you get
attic
it.
right now, and he's like, "You're not leaving me, ma'am." Okay, favorite quick breakfast.
Favorite, I love smoothies. It's either smoothies or oatmeal. Those are like, they make my gut feel good. They give me energy. And I just like, I crave those types of things. I'm not a savory breakfast gal. I don't think it's ever going to be, that's never going to be me.
I love it. Um, let's see, tea, coffee, or neither.
Lots of teas. And I didn't bring this up when you asked about beverages for gut health, but like licorice, marshmallow, slippery elm, peppermint, ginger. Like I have being pregnant has been so sad because I can't do a lot of my little tea blends that I love. But teas are incredibly beneficial for health. And so I got really into teas. So I drink a lot of herbal teas.
Me too. I'm obsessed with teas. Favorite workout or like fitness app that you like to use?
Mm, that's a great one. Cara Duvall is
Oh,
probably one of my favorite. Yeah, I mean,
the
and part of
best.
it is too that I get on with clients every day that say like she changed how I think about my body and fitness and you know, I love weightlifting, I love running, I love this, but God, I want to just like sing her praises because
Yeah.
she's not only like influenced me and just like she's what so many women need in their lives. So
The
big
Range
shout out
by
to her.
Cara Duvall.
Yeah.
Go do it. It's like $35 a month or something like that.
Yeah,
Not
so
bad.
Ooh,
affordable and just like again,
Feel
it's
good.
your soul that will be healed. Like it's incredible.
Yeah.
sign me up. If you had to eat at a fast food restaurant, which would it be?
Ooh, I love a good chicken sandwich. Like a Burger King chicken sandwich with just like a nice little bit of mayo on there.
Wow.
Nothing else. Like
Yeah,
This is
I love
that,
that.
unexpected. I thought
that
you were gonna be like, I don't do fast food. What are you
oh,
asking me, ma'am?
no, I mean, Taco Bell was never a thing, but like a good chicken sandwich and like lots of Burger King in my teen years, the chicken
Yes.
fries, frozen Cokes, like yeah, I was never a McDonald's person though. Like people hate me for that, but BK all the way.
All of your haters are just coming
Yeah.
after you
I
because you
know.
are not a McDonald's supporter.
So then which fast food chain would you ban? For like, if you had to do it like only nutrition wise, which do you think is like the worst of the worst?
Ooh.
I mean, they're
McDonald's.
yeah,
I'm just calling them out because I don't really like them. So I'm like,
yeah,
ooh, which one would I not care if they went away?
yeah. I
Right.
mean, they
But
probably
no,
like
I mean,
destroy the world.
like I would say like a Chick-fil-A or like a Shake Shack, like those have definitely higher standards. Chipotle would be considered fast food. So
Mhm.
like, nobody thinks McDonald's is good for us. So I would say like let's
Right.
ban them. They've made enough money and move
It's true.
on.
It's time to move on.
Agreed.
I appreciate that.
Although I do
Um,
love a McChicken.
Oh,
Mandy's like, oh,
I
I
had
can
one
make
of
those at home.
those.
Do you like to be on your phone all day or just during scheduled times?
I hate being on my phone at all, period. I love disconnecting. My phone dies all the time, drives Jordan insane, but it's like permission to just like disconnect. I hate being on my phone. I love connecting with people. I love connecting with social media. When you own your own business and so much of it ends up being on technology, your brain like has an aversion, like a
Mm.
chemical reaction to it.
Yes.
So I like taking breaks. I like scheduling time during the day. I don't look at my phone at night at all because it disrupts my sleep.
Love this. You are so tuned in. Best book you've read. It can be informational or just for fun.
Um, was it the Four Agreements?
That's a good one.
Is that the one that's like about the shepherd who takes a journey? Like, am I
I
thinking of the
think
right
I,
so.
one?
I think so.
Or
Yeah. It's like a pretty
okay.
quick one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. If that's the one, I really liked that one because it something about it, like you can interpret that however you want, but
Mhm.
it's just different. I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll
Okay.
always stick with me.
That's
Love
awesome.
it.
All right, last one. One thing you would tell someone experiencing issues with their health to help them gain confidence to seek help.
To gain confidence to seek help. I mean, you have to believe that you can get better. So just
Mhm.
have faith that like there is another side of this for you. That like even if you're at your worst place, you feel like you've done it all. Um, Everyone that comes, and I'm not saying go to me, but everyone that comes to me says I've tried everything, and they always walk away with something they haven't tried. So there's always hope on the other side.
Excellent.
Mhm.
So where can people find you? Because I have a feeling people are gonna want to stalk you now.
Stalk away. Nutritionrewired.com. That's my website. It's basically the same. Nutrition Rewired on my Instagram, Nutrition Rewired on my YouTube, podcast. Try to make it simple. So yeah, feel free to reach out, connect on the fact that we like to talk about bowel movements,
Mhm.
or whatever it might be, and would love to stay in touch.
And you work one-on-one with clients, correct?
I have a one-on-one and I also have a group coaching program.
Interesting. Okay,
Love
awesome.
it.
This has been